What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with the economic data coming out for today that's going to affect the markets, what the news is saying about Tesla, and what you should be watching for as time progresses. Before I break anything down, all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you are guaranteed up to 15 free stocks. Don't forget this offer ends very soon, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. Tesla's at critical support right now, barely holding the 4-hour 200 EMA. We're going to be watching to see how the data that comes out affects Tesla. Does Tesla end up holding this critical support it's at, or does Tesla end up losing this and turn a lot more bearish? Right now, Tesla's looking a little bearish, but just to be safe, we're going to be watching some important levels and also looking at some data, which I'm going to discuss over the next couple of minutes. So what's going on with the data? As a reminder, guys, at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? So 30 minutes after the market opens, we have the ISM manufacturing PMI and the jobs numbers. The manufacturing numbers and jobs numbers are coming out. But the most important piece of data is going to be the JOLTS job openings. So this one right here. We want this to be between 8.75 and 8.85 million. If it's higher, if it's way too high or way too low, this can actually kind of like hurt the market. So we'll be watching that very carefully. So watch this at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's see what the jobs numbers look like. This is going to cause volatility. It's going to affect Tesla and etc. This could cause the market to bounce or even drop even lower. So watch for that. And then also at 2 o'clock p.m., we have the FOMC minutes coming out. This is going to cause a big move most likely because once again, the Fed is going to be involved. So I'll be talking more about this later on, but just as a reminder, don't forget about all this data. And now I just want to add that this is going to cause volatility for the whole market. It's going to affect Tesla too. So we'll be watching for this on the sidelines. But so far this morning, we had Barkin giving a speech. He said that he sees a soft landing ahead, but notes rate hikes are still a possibility. On top of all of this, the market is very mixed right now. We actually saw some downside yesterday as the market started off for 2024, off to like a slow start, of course, which is what we were expecting after the monstrous rally we saw for November and December. Now, there's also more news coming out. Aapl has been very weak. It dropped more than 3% yesterday after we saw lackluster demand for the iPhone 15. At least that's what was That's what was warned from these different banks and different analysts. And on top of that, there are geopolitical issues. So with all of that going on, Apple's still looking kind of weak right now. We're going to be watching that as well. There's a lot of things going on at the Red Sea right now as militants are getting involved. So that's worth noting. We also saw Bitcoin. It was rocketing quite a bit, but we saw a big dip that happened this morning, at least for crypto. So we'll be watching that on the sidelines as well. But that's pretty much it for big news affecting the markets. Everything else is kind of minor. For Tesla, we had two headlines which are very important besides deliveries. We went over the deliveries numbers yesterday. But I just want to note that the Tesla Model 3 Highland is now expected to be delivered from Fremont. This is in California. It's expected by the end of Q1 2024. So we'll be watching to see how this goes. This is some interesting news. We were expecting this, and we'll see how this looks for Tesla. This is great news for them, but nothing new. There's also some news that came out that the Swedish strike against Tesla persists with no clear end in sight. Now, right now, Tesla's still delivering a lot of vehicles. They're still doing well despite this. Tesla could continue to do so, right? Many people say Tesla should not bend over to what's going on in Sweden with these unions and such. But here's the thing about this. I mean, although this is going on, this is negatively affecting Tesla to some small extent. I would say it's not really hurting their massive deliveries numbers and things like that. But here's my only concern about this. What if this starts spreading through different parts of Europe? Because we saw this start in Sweden. It spread to like Denmark and Norway and many other Northern European countries. If this starts spreading to like Germany and more countries and continues to spread, that's when it's going to really affect Tesla. So I think that Tesla needs to, kind of at least be open-minded to that. And it's up to them if they want to make a collective agreement, because I would really hope that something happens instead of this just dragging on and risking spreading to different parts of Europe. It's already spread a little bit to other Nordic regions. And we'll just see how it goes from this point on. But there's no end in sight as of right now. They're continuing to go on with the strikes until they get a collective agreement. So we'll be watching for that very carefully. That's it for the main pieces of news. Now let's just talk about Tesla. How is Tesla looking? It's very simple, guys. So as a reminder, we failed to get a nice breakout from this falling wedge. We did technically break out just a little bit before coming back down, which is showing some weakness on Tesla. Now, one could technically argue that there's a possible miniature wedge forming again. You can actually draw like a mini one like this. I'll be watching to see if this actually holds, at least for Tesla. But if anything, I mean, not maybe not a wedge, maybe more like a channel is kind of like forming. But anyways, I don't want to like focus too much on that. Tesla's looking a little weak right now. It's barely holding 244 support, and this is why this is significant. If you go back to Tesla's chart, the daily is showing some supports right here. The 20 EMAs and also the 50 EMAs are acting as supports. But the most important support right here is actually going to be this one. On the 4-hour time frame, look at this red line. It's a little hard to see, but this is our 200 EMA at 243.87, very close to that 244 range. If Tesla loses this support and fails to hold above it, we could see a bigger drop in Tesla. If we hold this, Tesla could try to hold up in this range, and it could try to, attempt to hold up. So you can see this range right here, where the green line is resistance at 250, the red line is support at the 200 EMA at very close to 244. I called this out yesterday. That's what's going on right now for Tesla. We want Tesla to try to, break above 250 to turn bullish. And if you're bearish, you want to see it lose 244. Right now, it's barely holding 244. So we're going to be very careful with Tesla. So that being said, watch 247.5 as resistance, 250, 252, and etc. For support, make sure you watch 244. If we lose this, if we fail to hold 244, our next target is going to be 242, followed by 240. Tesla's looking weak this morning, to be honest with you. It's just barely holding support, but it hasn't officially broken below the 200 EMA. So we're going to be watching for a big test today. It is looking weak right now, but watch and see how it reacts to the jobs numbers and the manufacturing numbers at 10 a.m. And at 2 p.m., watch the FOMC minutes to see how it affects Tesla. It's looking weak right now. It's just trying to base at this 244 area, but it's just barely holding on. So it does favor the bears a bit more, but just to be safe, we have to watch for confirmation if it breaks or not. On SPY, this is also in a very critical place. It's just barely holding 470. If we lose 470, our next target is going to be 468. Resistance watch 471.64, 472, followed by 473.8, and 474. It's barely holding 470 on SPY. If you look at SPY on the 4-hour time frame, 470 is just holding up here. But on top of that, I mean, if you look at the daily time frame, the daily shows 467 to 468 as a critical support at the 20 EMA. We're going to be watching that as well. That's going to be very key as well for SPY. So it kind of aligns with our other support. So that's going to be a level worth noting. So what do I see for the chart? It looks bearish. Plain and simple. It looks bearish. Watch this 470 support. See how it reacts to the data. If we lose 470, our next target is 468. It does favor the bears quite a bit more, but just want to note that we'll see how it reacts to the data, and we're going to be watching the support very carefully. On the QQQ, this also looks bearish. We're continuing to sink, especially thanks to Aapl. We're barely holding 399.6-ish, which is the level I called out yesterday. If you look at this, I mean, if you look at this, this is still downtrending. If you want to be bullish, you want to see it try to get back above 402 and then try to break above this yellow trend line. If it does break above this, then we could see a change in the trend. So far, there's no change, and it's still continuing to downtrend, still looking very weak. We can even adjust this trend line later on if we want to. I'm not going to focus on that just yet. We're barely holding this support right here in the 399s. If we lose this, our next target is going to be 398, then 396.5. It's just barely holding on, guys. So it looks like we're seeing a lot of chop over here. Could be looking for more downside. QQQ is looking bearish thanks to Nvda and also thanks to Aapl. It favors the bears a bit more, so we could be looking for it to start sinking still into the 390s. For Aapl, we have Aapl and Nvda next. Aapl, in my opinion, is looking kind of bearish too. There's this big drop coming, barely holding 184. I want to note something very important about Aapl. On the daily, not the daily, I think it's actually the 4-hour time frame. Let me just double check this real quick. Actually, it's not the 4-hour. It might actually be the daily. Let me just double check one thing. Yeah, it's supposed to be the daily chart. So on the daily, we actually have our 200 EMA all the way down to 177.86, and we're looking really bearish. So if if we lose 180, our next target is going to be 177.86. I just want to note that if we lose 180, if we turn really bearish, we're at 184 right now, so we're not actually down there. But I just wanted to note that that's what the daily is showing. So watch 183 as support, 182.5, and then 181. Watch resistance at 185, 186.5, and 188. Apple's looking bearish. Looks like it might be testing the 183 soon, and then eventually 182.5. So it favors the bears from a technical standpoint. But just to be safe, watch and see how it reacts to the data. Finally, for Nvidia, the last stock I'm going to go over is Nvidia. Nvidia is just barely holding up right now. Let me check one thing for Nvidia first before I actually break down the levels. Nvidia needs to try to hold 480. If we lose 480, okay, our 50 EMAs is currently at 472.97. We're going to be testing this yellow EMA right here. See the yellow line? We're going to be testing that if we keep losing 480. We're still holding it, so we haven't lost critical support yet. But just to be safe, guys, it could end up breaking down. Actually, I think we did just break it during the pre-market. So we just broke this 480 support. So that looks like that could be our next target all the way down here at 472.97. So sorry about that, guys. It looks like we did just break it. So with that being said, we're going to be watching to see if this holds. If we lose that, there's going to be even more downside to 468. So we'll be watching to see if 472 holds. If we lose that, I think our next target is going to be 468 on Nvidia. For resistance, make sure you watch 475. Then we also have 476 above that, 479, and then 482. So because we actually broke below, this 480 support during the pre-market, it actually happened really quickly. In my opinion, our next target could be 468. It looks bearish. Nvidia looks like it has more downside coming. This could slow down the triple Q. I also want to show you the chart like this, just so you can see these levels. This level right here, this 468 areas where we have a lot of volatility. Going to be looking for this level to be tested. Nvidia, in my opinion, looks bearish, so watch that very carefully. If 468 fails, it's in the mid 460s is going to be coming next. But that's it for this video, guys. Don't forget that Tesla is barely holding its support at 244. Watch for volatility at 30 minutes after market open. This is your last reminder. The manufacturing numbers and the job openings are coming out, so watch for volatility at this time. And at 2 p.m., the FOMC minutes come out, and watch for that as well. All right, guys, hopefully this video was helpful. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Tesla to the moon alongside the whole market as the long term is very bright, and peace out.